All right, I'm Julie Banderas, and this is the Fox Report. Many of the Republican presidential candidates fresh off this week's debates and making their case to about 1,000 conservative activists at the annual Red State Gathering. Can those who performed well in Cleveland keep their momentum, and can those at the back of the pack close the gap? The Fox News political insiders are here on a Saturday. We're excited for you to join in on the conversation on our Twitter pages, hashtag Fox Report. John Leboutiller, former Republican congressman for New York, Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor, and Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor. All right, first, I just want to go to each of you, sure, the winners, the losers of the primetime debate. Let's start with that, John.
Well, I think the Republican Party won. The brand, which has been under assault. I think overall, obviously 25 million people watched. And they comported themselves in a very major league fashion.
And they actually spoke within the 30 seconds that they were allotted. I've never seen that in a debate.
Well, I've never seen a debate where 10 people actually where it was riveting.
Yeah.
And Fox can take credit for that.
Best 2 hours of politics I've ever seen.
Here's the point I would make. Just think back to 2012 of the Republicans debating. They look like pygmies compared to this group as a group. So I thought the party brand was helped. And I thought in the primetime debate, I think, probably Rubio and Kasich, but everybody got something. Most
Carly.
Carly during the day.
I said last night on Hannity that reports of Donald Trump's demise were, I think, exaggerated. And I think he was effective given the questions he was asked and the challenges he faced. There's a but. In the post-debate discussion, which is where we are now, very different from the debate itself, Donald Trump has been lashing out and has been unfocused. And one of the things we as candidates and consultants try to do is to have clear messages. Trump has yet to come to a message post-debate, which is, I think, has otherwise undermined what was, I think, a creditable performance given what he faced.
Let me just remind viewers that these debates are not so that we can throw softball questions. These are debates that we are supposed to put these presidential candidates to the test. They are going to be having conversations with the Russian president, with possibly the Iranian. I mean, we have to know that they are tough and they can stand up to strong conversation. And so, with that said, which one of the candidates do you believe best stood up to tough questions? I mean, Ben Carson was asked a very difficult question right off the bat when Megyn Kelly asked him about mistakes that he's made in the past, and they could be considered embarrassing, and he took it like a champ.
First of all, I think the questions were very good. I thought they worked very hard at it, and it showed right from the get-go. I think each candidate in his own way had a constituency they were aiming at, and they connected with it. I don't think any of them lost any support that they already had. The question is, other than Donald, who really still dominates everything, is any one of those 9, plus Carly, who really broke out at 5.
Because she just blew.
So let's call it 10. Let's call it 10. The other 9 and Carly, is one of them ready to burst up out of the pack?
Rubio did far better, I thought, Pat, I think is right, than, say, Scott Walker. I thought
Kasich, I thought great.
John Kasich did very, very well. But the reason I focus on Rubio, he is a conservative. Walker's a conservative. They're sort of in their own mini primary. I thought Rubio had the better.
I thought Rubio, who found himself, he reminded me of the man who announced. He's been he announced and then he just kind of got lost in the wilderness. But understand one thing, the debate is 1 and 2 stages. What you do at the moment, and then what happens afterwards. What is the things that are rerun? What do people say? It begins to build its own story, and people have momentum. And we have no polls yet, which I find hard to believe given how many people watch. But, we will see. And these candidates, and some of them needed it. Christie desperately needed something.
I thought he did okay.
And I thought he did good. Yes, absolutely. And I thought, to that extent, Huckabee did well, even though no one knows where he's headed. But
Pat, I think
you're right about Walker and Bush. In my opinion,
a little flat.
Bush was flat. Yeah,
they were flat. And Walker didn't distinguish himself. He didn't hurt himself. But I don't think.
Let me divide the field up a little bit. You have your Tea Party guys and you have your establishment guys. The 2 establishment people, the hot one had been among the donor class, Jeb Bush. He hasn't caught on with the voters yet, right?
It certainly didn't catch on.
Didn't catch on. I think It's early still. But those donors are looking at Kasich as a backup if Jeb Bush doesn't get going here. I think they are comfortable with him. He's got a tremendous record on paper, both in Congress and in Ohio.
And that undermines Christie eventually.
Yeah, totally. And in New Hampshire, Kasich is running an ad. He's second place in the polls up there. His whole strategy is win New Hampshire.
There was another winner. That was Hillary Clinton. She's had a terrible couple of weeks.
I'd say so.
And with the investigations, with the scrutiny of the donations, with the constant attention to the 30,000 emails and the classified information in at least 4 of them. What her campaign tried to do and will continue doing is keeping the focus on Donald Trump, but also the position that a lot of the candidates took on social issues, which was very responsive for a Republican primary audience, less so for a general election audience.
Let me talk about that, because that's a very important point. This audience was so vast. Remember, the primetime debate had 26 million people. It's the second largest cable event. It's the largest non-sporting cable event ever. It is the biggest, obviously, for this network.
Bigger than LeBron.
Bigger than LeBron. Even the 5 o'clock debate, which was a little strange in that hall, but had 6 million people, would have been the third or fourth largest cable debate. These things, and so a lot of people tuned in, as you said, rubbernecking or interest. And I happen to think that when Walker said, I think this is the kind of thing the Democrats want to have. When Walker says, no, I won't make an exception for the life of the mother in abortion, which 83% of Americans and a vast majority of Republicans support. They better be careful, because they're not only running to win a nomination, they want to be the general. And the question is, and why Rubio decided to join in that was his one mistake in the debate.
Christina Hill tweets me, I think Marco Rubio is a modern-day JFK. Ben Carson is truly a smart man. These two have my full attention. Jeff Littlejohn writes, Kasich due to his accomplishments, skill, and humility. Rubio due to his strong leadership and communication prowess.
So this is where they profited from Donald Trump bringing 25 million people to the TV set.
Because they kept it real. Yeah. They didn't start the mudslinging. And I believe that people don't want to see mudslinging.
I have news. I got bad news for you.
It's going to get worse.
This was the first round
of
a 15-round heavyweight fight where they take the measure of each other. And it's inevitable that these 10 or 11 people are going to go negative to separate themselves. And they have money to do it, and it is going to get ugly. This was the high water mark of the campaign, was Thursday night.
Rand Paul, when he tried to pick fights right off the bat.
I thought he was
feisty. He was on fire.
I think he was more than feisty. I think he was abrasive.
Let me make I want to make one point about him. Look, I actually support his position on the fight he was having with Christie, but it was clear to me that Christie beat the living daylights out of him.
And that
what did you guys think of Chris Christie? I thought he was very good. I thought he was excellent.
It was compelling.
He needed this desperately.
And I think he got it.
And he got it. And that's the point. People who needed something. Rubio needed to get recharged. Walker and Bush are up there sort of at the top. They weren't needing it so much. Carson got attention. It was interesting. He did it at the end. I didn't think... But you know what? He comes across, and it's interesting reading the tweets and other things. He's such a moral force. People like him because he is different than being a politician. I'm not sure where he's going.
But Pat, if you take that moral and that, you're right. There's a goodness to him.
Right.
And you add, he's got 10%, and you add Carly, who's hot, who won the early debate, and the Trump 25%. I mean, we've done this before. We're up to 50% of the GOP right away. Anti-establishment.
I got to say, Jon Stewart and not the Jon Stewart of the former Daily Show, the anchor lover is his, the anchovy lover is his Twitter handle. He wrote, after her work this week in Cleveland, Carly Fiorina will be at the grown-up table in the next GOP debate. You know, it'll be interesting to see Donald Trump and Carly Fiorina on the same stage, because she was the first presidential candidate on the GOP side to come forward and defend.
There's also
Megyn Kelly on Twitter.
Another issue, and that's what I was going to get to. Carly, as the only woman who is focused on Hillary Clinton, will add a dimension that was candidly missing on Thursday night. And given that the Democrats are focusing on the alleged war on women, having Carly Fiorina up there attacking and being cogent is only to the good for the Republican Party.
Plus, she was Mark Thiessen, who's the former Bush speechwriter and a Fox News contributor, said yesterday on the air, he said, boy, she is the smart, articulate female version of Donald Trump. And in other words, when you're saying if something happens, those messages of alienation that he's touching, they're still there for someone else to also get to
but
and deal
the
with.
huge question that both of you are raising is, will Donald Trump survive with his base intact, given the controversy?
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate and look forward to us talking about this more. I mean, this is so good now. I can't wait to see where this is.
It's only going to get better.
It is only going to get better. John Leboutiller and Pat Caddell, Doug Schoen, thank you so much for coming in on a Saturday. We appreciate it.